I was halfway through my morning routine when my house went silent in a way that immediately felt wrong. Not quiet like early morning quiet, not peaceful, dead. I was reviewing overnight footage from my home security system, something I do every morning out of habit, when every camera feed froze at the exact same second. The driveway camera stopped mid-frame with a delivery truck halfway out of view. The backyard feed pixelated and went black. The doorbell cam, the one that always takes an extra second to buffer, didn't even try. Everything disappeared. At first, I told myself it was nothing. A firmware update, a temporary outage. These things happen. I reached for my phone to check the system status, expecting a yellow warning banner or a reconnecting message. Instead, my phone buzzed with a notification that made my chest tighten. HOA notice. Unauthorized surveillance activity detected. Immediate corrective action has been taken. The sender name glared back at me. Denise Walker, HOA Vice President. I just stared at the screen for a few seconds, hoping I had misread it. I hadn't. Denise had been a problem since the day I moved in. Not because I broke rules. Not because my yard was unkempt or my trash cans were out too long. Denise didn't care about that stuff unless it involved control. What she cared about, obsessed over, really, was technology. Specifically, technology she didn't understand. I had invested heavily in home security. Exterior cameras covering all entry points. Motion detection zones. Cloud backups with redundancy. Cellular failover. Everything installed professionally. Everything legal. Everything disclosed to the HOA when I moved in. I work remotely in digital forensics. I deal with data breaches, fraud cases, and security audits. My livelihood depends on secure systems. To me, cameras aren't paranoia. They're basic infrastructure. To Denise, they were a personal attack. She once told a neighbor that my cameras were watching her energy. Another time, she claimed my doorbell cam tracked her movements and caused headaches. At a monthly HOA meeting, she accused me of normalizing surveillance culture and said my house made the neighborhood feel unsafe. People laughed. Denise didn't. 2 weeks earlier, she tried to pass a new HOA rule banning any exterior cameras that face public space. She called it a privacy preservation amendment. She talked about frequencies, vibrations, and something she referred to as data bleed. The vote wasn't even close. Every homeowner voted no. Even the HOA president shut it down and moved on. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. At 7:40 a.m. the next morning, I stepped outside to take out the trash and immediately noticed something off. The small cellular backup antenna mounted near my garage, gone, completely removed. In its place was a faint outline where the mount had been. I walked around the side of the house. The locked fiber junction box was open, not forced, not broken. Opened cleanly and resealed with bright orange HOA violation tape, like some kind of warning label. That's when I felt it. That cold, sinking feeling in your gut when you realize someone crossed a line they can't uncross. Then I saw her. Denise was standing across the street, clipboard tucked against her chest, smiling like she'd just finished a successful inspection. On her lawn sat a dull gray metal case about the size of a carry-on suitcase. It had vents along the sides and thick cables running into her house through a window. "Good morning," she called out cheerfully. "Everything okay over there?" I asked her what she had done. She didn't hesitate. "Your surveillance equipment was causing interference." "Interference with what, exactly?" She tapped her clipboard. "Electromagnetic disruption. Community privacy violations. I had a contractor install a signal filter. Temporary measure." That's when my phone buzzed again. Cellular backup. Disabled. Emergency uplink. Unavailable. My pulse spiked. She hadn't just disabled my cameras. She had blocked every possible transmission method they used. Wi-Fi, LTE, even the emergency uplink designed to stay active during outages. She had created a localized signal dead zone around my property. I told her calmly, clearly, to turn it off immediately. She laughed. "You tech people always think rules don't apply to you," she said. "This is an HOA community. I have authority." That was the moment I knew she had no idea what she was actually doing. What Denise didn't understand was that my system wasn't just about my house. One of my cameras fed into a regional crime prevention network. Another synced with an emergency response service used by an elderly neighbor across the street who lived alone. My setup wasn't some hobbyist project. It was registered, logged, approved. By blocking those signals, Denise wasn't enforcing HOA rules. She was interfering with public safety infrastructure. I didn't argue. I didn't threaten her with lawsuits. I didn't raise my voice. I went inside, grabbed my laptop, and got in my car. I drove until my phone signal returned, parked on the shoulder near a grocery store, and started researching. I typed in the description of the device I'd seen on her lawn, the model, the antenna layout, the casing. The search results made my hands shake. Unauthorized signal suppression device. Illegal to operate, possess, or deploy in residential areas. I clicked through FCC documentation. Penalties included massive fines, equipment seizure, federal charges, prison time. This wasn't an HOA dispute anymore. I didn't call the HOA board. I didn't call local police. I called the FCC Enforcement Bureau. The agent listened quietly as I explained what was happening. Halfway through, he interrupted me. "Sir," he said, his tone suddenly serious, "do not confront her again. Do not warn her. This is a priority interference case." He asked for my address twice. "We're escalating this," he said, "immediately." The next morning, unmarked vehicles rolled onto our street just after sunrise. They weren't police cars. No markings, no lights. Just dark SUVs with strange rotating antennas mounted on the roofs. Agents walked the block slowly with handheld scanners, stopping directly in front of Denise's house. She came outside yelling. "I'm HOA leadership," she shouted. "You can't scan my property without permission." No one responded. Minutes later, federal agents entered her house and emerged carrying the gray metal case, the same one I'd seen on her lawn. Bagged, tagged, logged like evidence. That's when she lost it. She pointed at me across the street. "He made me do it." His cameras were dangerous. An agent turned to her and said calmly, "Ma'am, HOA authority does not override federal law." They arrested her on the spot. The entire neighborhood watched. Doors opened. Phones came out. People whispered. The woman who once fined homeowners for lawn decorations was placed into a federal vehicle. The consequences were swift and devastating. The FCC fined her $52,000. My employer sued her for damages and won. The HOA removed her immediately. She sold her house to cover legal fees. She is now serving time in a federal facility. Her replacement as HOA Vice President? A retired firefighter who asked if my cameras could help keep the neighborhood safer. They do. Denise wanted privacy. She wanted control. She wanted silence. Now she has all three inside, a place where HOA rules don't exist. Moral of the story, abuse HOA power if you want, but interfere with federal systems, and you lose everything. Subscribe for more stories of entitled HOA officials learning that lesson the hard way.